St. Jerome, Doctor of the Church. St. Jerome was reared in a Christian home, been baptized as an adult in Rome, and had frequently descended into the darkened catacombs to pray at the tombs of the martyrs and saints. His double identity as both a scholar of Latin and Greek, rhetoric on the one hand, and as a committed Christian on the other hand, Jerome fervently loved God and the Catholic religion with all his soul. But he was a troubled soul. Jerome was full of spit and vinegar. He was a complex man and a complex saint. Saint Jerome was born in an unknown year in a region northeast of Venice, Italy. His father sent him as a young man to Rome to perfect his education under a famous tutor. Jerome was a superb student and a master of Latin and Greek. At about the age of 30, he decided to become a monk and traveled to the desert of Syria. For 4 years, he lived a life of austerity, penance, and isolation. He fasted from the classics he loved so much, and he studied Hebrew from a Jewish convert. When he finally came out of the desert, he was ordained a priest in Antioch, but never truly exercised any priestly ministry. He studied under the great Saint Gregory Nazianzen in Constantinople and began to publish some translations and biblical commentaries. Around 382, Jerome went to Rome with his bishop to serve as an interpreter and aide. Jerome impressed Pope Saint Damasus, who asked him to be his secretary. At this point, in his 40s, and while living in Rome, Jerome began the monumental task of translating the entire Bible into Latin from original Greek and Hebrew texts. It would take him years. The existing Old Latin Bible was not cohesive, but a jumble of texts stitched together under one cover. Various scholars have generated divergent translations for purely local use. So the Gospel of John in Jerusalem was different it's not the same from the Gospel in the manuscript in Rome. The one church spread throughout the whole known world needed one Bible to match its broad scope and theological unity. And Jerome was the man for the job. Just after a few years in Rome, after the death of his patron, Pope Damasus, St. Jerome left for Rome for the Holy Land. He lived in a cave near Bethlehem and focused on translating the scriptures. Jerome's translation is known as the Vulgate. It became the standard Latin version of the Bible over time, pushing the Old Latin version into oblivion. The Council of Trent formally stated that the Vulgate was the official Bible of the Catholic Church. So Catholicism has the Bible, a claim which no other church can make. No other Bible has ever floated down from heaven from a golden pillow, except for Jerome's, the Bible. There are thousands of ancient scraps of scriptures from hundreds of ancient texts from scores of libraries and monasteries in dozens of countries. But a publisher and its consultants ultimately choose which text to include in any published Bible and which ones to exclude. Our Catholic Church has no flimsy process. Its sacred word is not dependent on scholarly fashion and whim. It has a baseline. The Vulgate is like a drop anchor resting on the ocean floor. It keeps the ship of the church from drifting. Our Catholic Church is the religion of the word, more than the book. But it has a definitive book, nonetheless. St. Jerome died peacefully in 420, exhausted from his scholarly labors and life of patience. His remains can be found directly below the high altar of St. Mary Major Basilica in Rome, in a handsome porphyry sarcophagus.